right, what's up everybody? Congratulations, you have your new slicks in the mail. Now how do we use these, okay? How can we effectively teach solar? They learn from hearing, reading, writing, and saying. You see, if I'm just talking to you the entire time, it's a little bit different than if I can say, hey, it's easier if I show you and put something into your hands. Now, these slicks I utilize in a specific order. When you can learn to use these slicks effectively, you're going to control the objections, the conversation, the flow of your presentation, the potential rejection. If your tactics are sound, they can't fight you. And this is how we do it. All right, the major reason why you're going to get not interested is because you did not create curiosity. So the first thing that I'm going to show them while I'm on the door is something that's specific to their situation. You see, what I do is I go to Google and I type in the town that I'm working in and I search for the most recent news based on the electric company, whether that's a rate increase, whether that's a veto from the governor that literally states that he is not going to contribute to the financial crunch that citizens are facing in the specific state. You see, when you can create curiosity at the beginning of your presentation, what's going to happen is you are going to turn the not interested or the no's into K-N-O-W, and they're going to want to know more information. So the first thing I'm going to show them is something relative to their situation. Typically, the way my presentation will start is, oh, hey, sir, how are you? My name is Taylor McCarthy. Actually, the reason I'm coming by is like a little bit different. I'll just cut to the chase. I don't know if you know, right? And that's where I'm going to create the curiosity and put something into their hand. So that's the first thing that I'm trying to achieve while I'm on the doors. All right, once I've personalized the opportunity, right, I want to hit them with something a little bit different, right? So it is serious. We're not trying to come down anybody. However, it is important. Families are starting to put one and one together and realizing the utility companies just straight up nickel and diming us. And I'm kind of sick and tired of it. That's why we've had so many inquiries. So a lot of these families have been receiving these electric bills that state do not pay. You can see they went from being a consumer to a producer, or turning a liability of a never-ending electric bill into an asset, from renting to owning. Instead of having a landlord, now they pay themselves. So this is the first one, right? Do not pay electric bill. And then on the opposite side, this is going to show them all the ridiculous fees and surcharges that the utility company is charging them, whether it's an enhancement charge, a distribution energy charge, a renewable energy distribution, a transition charge. What are these fees, right? The utility companies are straight up corrupt. And if you cannot build pain during your presentation, there will never be a change. So understand, you're going to tell the story with I don't know if you know. Through this story, what you're going to go into is creating a pain. So that's one of the first things that I want to do is I want to show them a do not pay electric bill. We want to sell the destination, not the plane. What I mean by that is everyone wants to go hang out at the beach in Hawaii, but it's not fun to go on a 10-hour plane ride. So what's the end result? Is a do not pay electric bill where they start paying themselves and go from a consumer to a producer, a liability to an asset, or renting to owning. All right, now I've created a little bit of pain and curiosity, right? Showing them a do not pay electric bill, explaining them that people are putting one and one together and they're sick and tired of getting nickel and dime from the utility company. Now I want to go into what the offer is, right? And that's what I like to refer to as the redirection program. Families have the ability to redirect, divert, or shift away from the monopoly. You see, everybody's stuck in option A, and that's where I'm going to build pain in the grid, 130-year-old infrastructure. Right? Option B is being able to produce their power on site. And as you can see, what is option C? Option C is the situation where the utility company denies the application and then the family's stuck. Right? The utility company is a stronghold. Right? People are in handcuffs right now. And it's my job as a solar professional to lead them to the decision and be an assistant buyer. On the opposite side here, what I'm doing is I'm comparing everything apples for apples. Energy independence, staying with the utility company. I think we can both agree, sir, if you guys move, the utility company is not going to give you any of that money back. Now, a pro tip for these slicks is the fine print. The fine print on this states, if we cannot utilize the amount you give to the utility company to fund the project, we will not pick your home. And I like to bring this up before the families read it. And I'll say, hey, look, you're going to eventually read the fine print, so I'm just going to bring it up right now. You see on the back side, it says if your current utility denies your application, you are stuck with option A, right? You could go to 7-Eleven, win $1 million on a scratch ticket. It doesn't matter because the utility company owns that meter, right? Instead of the sun goes up, the bills go down, the meter just continues to move forward. You turn the TV on, you turn it off, you turn the lights on, you turn it off. The utility company's just nickel and diming us, and people are sick and tired of it. All right, the next thing that I'm going into is when I explain to them solar for the first time, whether you're working a saturated market, a non-saturated market, the way that you bring up solar, you have to understand if they've already been talked to about solar by 12 different people and you bring it up in the first 3 seconds, they're going to categorize you with everybody else. So when I first bring up solar, it goes a little something like this. I don't know if you guys have noticed a lot of the families that have been putting up like the little windmills in their backyard or like the solar panels on their roof. These people did not win the lottery. They didn't take money out of their checking account, nor did they pivot from their stock portfolios. It's just ever since they introduced the new technology from the old stuff to the new stuff, and then I'm putting that into their hands, we've had so many inquiries. As you can see, the new panels are a lot more modern, where they're the considered triple black panels that go up onto the roof. Now, when it comes to solar specifically, there's 6 major questions. Now, I've already placed this into their hand. They're looking at it. I have them engaged. And now I'm going to bring up the lingering questions, right? Because it's better if I can play offense and bring this up beforehand. So the 6 major questions is what happens to my roof? What if I was to move? Bottom line, what's the cost? Who services it? And when do I start saving money? And then finally, who owns it? As far as the roof, it keeps the house a lot cooler in the summertime. If you guys are working in a northern market, I would say it actually melts the snow a lot faster as well in the winter. As far as if you were to ever move, it transfers over just like the power company. It's one form with 2 OKs. The cost to you, you're already paying for it. What families don't understand is if I cannot take the money that you donate to the utility company to fund the entire project, we don't do it. So we want to be able to actually redirect and take the money that you're already donating to the utility company. Instead of you putting it into a dumpster, it now goes into a piggy bank where you now own your electricity and no longer at the mercy of the power company. As far as service, there's 3 specific approvals that are needed. The utility company, the town, and then our engineering department. If we can get all 3 OKs, then we would be on the hook for 25 years to maintain, warranty, and service the system. Now, as far as savings, people don't go solar to save $40, $50 a month so they can fill up their truck with an extra half a tank of gas or run to Applebee's. People do this because they want to be completely independent from the utility company's stronghold. It's energy independence. It's having the ability to produce your own power on site, and eventually that the sun goes up, the bills go down, and then eventually the sun goes up and there is no bills because you own your power. As far as ownership, this is true ownership. You guys own the system immediately from day one. Now, if you're selling PPAs, which isn't ownership, I would just explain to them, you have the ability to pay a lot less on a bill that you're never going to cancel. And a lot of the families out here hesitate to pay full price, and if they can be more economical, that's obviously a good thing for them and probably a good thing for you, wouldn't it, right? That's called a tie-down. It's a question at the end of a sentence that demands a yes. So the 6 major questions brings up lingering questions, and ever since they introduced the new technology from the old stuff to the new stuff, that's the next slick that I'm going to. All right, so this is how I position the deal and the opportunity for these families to go solar. Now, understand a confused mind always says no. So clarity is going to create conviction. Attitude, belief, and conviction in the opportunity for these families to go solar is going to allow you to sell more than any sort of product knowledge or technical skills. You see, my job is very easy. All I really do is I put a line down the middle of a piece of paper and I show you apples to apples both situations. What I'll do is I'll show you exactly what you would end up donating to the utility company over time compared to taking all that money and putting it into a trash can. We would now actually put it into a piggy bank. You see, for this family, they average just about $150 a month just giving that money to the utility company, and we were able to redirect into actually a lower payment towards ownership. You see, this family was able to put $51,000 back in their pocket over time rather than just giving that money to the utility company. Because there is a cost of doing nothing and there is a cost of doing something. For this family, it was $51,000 that could have put their kids through college rather than just giving all the money to the utility company. You see, I'm comparing everything: their average month, their average year, their offset, their added home value, their tax credit, inflation, fees and surcharges, their 10-year, 20-year, 30-year investment or cost. So when you can break it down apples for people, that's what really creates the need for somebody to understand how this would work. Now, this slick is really good for people in really new markets, but also people that are in saturated markets, because I can show them, like, a lot of the families are early adopters right now. You've probably noticed in the last 3 years, you go through a neighborhood and you start noticing people have solar. Maybe in some markets like California, almost 80% of these neighborhoods are already at solar and they're this far down. But maybe you're in a new market like Iowa or maybe even Florida and it's just early adopters. So that's something that I'm going to show them as far as how solar works. All right, this is a great way to explain benefits. You see a picture, somebody will be able to register that information a lot faster than my words, and that's the power of the visual aids. But with this slick, what I really like is it shows them how much money that they could potentially save over time. Right? Because $30, $40 a month, somebody might tell you, hey, that's not enough for me to make this decision. But if I can show them that it's $60,000 over time and the utility company is just going to keep utilizing inflation to make our bills go up, that might be the excuse to actually have them say yes. You see, on the opposite side, what I'm showing them is the percentage of rate increases. Right? One of the best parts about going solar is you either have a 0% escalator or a 2.9% escalator. But a lot of these families in these states are dealing with 30, 40, 20% rate increases on their utility bills. Even in Texas, a 70% rate increase. Right? This is like the pebble in somebody's shoe that will eventually turn into a glass shard. And once it turns into a glass shard, there's a pain that causes. So before that pebble turns into a glass shard, it's our job as solar professionals is to find the excuse for them to say yes. And this is a great slick to actually explain the benefits and the reasons why families should go solar. All right, I like to refer to this as the Google slick, right? What it does is it breaks it down what a $50 electric bill would be in a year, 10 years, 20 years, and then with no inflation. See, what I really like about this slick is it only goes up to $250. So whenever a family has above a $250 electric bill, I would say, oh, that must be a quarterly statement every 3 months. And then I look at my chart and I say, wow, $310? That's off my chart. That's over $100,000 you're just giving away to the utility company. And then explaining that we're in a crisis right now. Whether you realize it or not, it's not just gas prices, it's not just groceries, it's the utility costs. And usually people get their bill in the mail and they just pay it. But what happens when that electric bill doubles, triples, quadruples? That's going to happen, and that attitude, belief, and conviction of what's going to be happening to these families is going to allow you to actually create the decision, which is otherwise known as closing. You see, I can show them price increases over time, whether it's gasoline, like a gallon of milk, the basics. I don't use this as much, but if I need to really show somebody the benefit, I might say something like, this is maybe one of the things you might undervalue now, but the number that I'm going to show you in 15 minutes. So now I've explained the benefits, but I've also covered the lingering questions. Whether I'm on the door or whether I'm in the table, clarity creates conviction. If I can explain a roadmap of what's going to happen for the families that I serve, it's the same as an assistant buyer taking their hand and leading them across a very busy highway. Imagine if they had a blindfold and I needed to lead them across the street. It's going to be a lot easier if I take their hand and lead them through this process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the agenda. The agenda is the intent statements, my comfortable get down to business statement. Then I'm going to go over these questions that will ultimately determine whether or not we pick your home. They're called can we pay questions. Then I'm going to create a chart where I put a line down the middle of a piece of paper and show you exactly what your situation is currently. Then I'm going to explain to you what I believe. I'll explain to you the reasons all these families have gone solar, but before they do that, I want to explain to you genuinely what I believe as far as why this makes sense. Then I'm going to cover the major questions: the roof, the move, the cost, the service, the savings, the ownership. Then I'm going to actually cover the second part, which is the design and the numbers. And then I'm going to fill out the second half of the chart where I show you what the new situation would be and how you would benefit from going solar. Then we submit an application to the utility company, we schedule and then we actually install the systems. These questions will ultimately determine whether or not we pick your home. So the digital closing sheet is actually, these are the questions that I'm asking, and I'm filling out the paper and leaving that with the families. So if you notice, I put all the questions right here for you. You ask these questions and then you're writing down their answers. Right? If they tell me, yeah, we'd go above and beyond for you if you went above and beyond for us, the peace of mind behind protecting my rate, that would help me a lot because of this, this, and that. Or, hey, I would never go back to renting a home, right? I would never have a landlord. Ownership is the reason I like this. So I'm able to actually show them this, but also go into the 10 pillars of reasons people go solar, right? Number one reason why families are not going to move forward is trust. That's the biggest objection that we face out there in the field, but also the inadequate explanation of benefits. So I'm able to put this in front of them and find the hot button and create the decision. So setting up the roadmap and then the questions that I ask to really position the opportunity, very critical part of the sales presentation. All right, so this is a fun one, right? What I'm doing is I'm just going to show them apples to apples, but if you notice with this slick, it shows that solar's a little bit more, right? And I want to utilize something called a triplicate of choice close. It goes something like this. So the ideal situation when a lot of families go solar is they're willing to invest anywhere between $80 to $100 additional because they realize that 20 to 25 bucks a week won't take food off their table, especially if they turn the liability into an asset. Now there are the fortunate few that are rich and they can pay all the upfront costs, the labor, the installation, the permitting, and that's just what they do. They write a check. Solar is very expensive. And then because of certain circumstances, there's some families that could only do this if we showed you a way that we covered all the upfront costs and actually kept you at the same amount that you were already paying to the utility company, or actually show you savings from day one. Now, which one of those three are you? And if I can get them to say, I would only do this, that's a tie down, right? I would only do this if you paid all the upfront costs and we could show you savings from day one and protect ourselves from inflation. So renewability, environment, fossil fuels, right? It's just a picture to catch their attention. On the opposite side, this is a great thing to build value because people care about the company, the cost, the quality, and when they care about an installation, something that's going to be there forever. So pretty much all solar companies use something called an 86-point inspection checklist because people want to care about the quality. So this might be a slick that I'd show them at the table that would give them the peace of mind to know that they're going with the right company. You have to understand, if you leave these lingering questions, they're going to think about it afterwards. Like, what company is this? What type of install do they do? And then a confused mind always says no, but the greatest enemy is the client's fear. So I need to actually make them feel as if they're making the right decision throughout this process. And like I said, trust is the only objection that you need to overcome. So this is the way that I use these slicks. I have them in a specific order. And typically when I'm in the field, it's going to work something like this, where I'm putting something in your hand. Hey, it's easier if I show you, and then I'm taking it away. Maybe I walk to the curb, they follow me, then I take it out of their hand and I'm going into explaining something else, and then I'm putting something else in their hand. Then I'm going to the side of them. You see, buying is not a spectator sport, it's an involvement sport. And as the sales professional, I need to find the excuse for them to say yes, because an objection is actually a way for the buyer, it's a tactic used to stall the decision. The same way you have technique, the same way you have these visual aids, somebody's going to win. It's either their conviction is stronger than yours and they're going to transition you onto the street, or your conviction and your tactics are so sound that they can't fight you, and the next thing you know, you're transitioning into the home and then they have solar on their roof. So utilize these visual aids. You have to watch this over and over. Understand you have to MPDR. You memorize something, you practice it, you drill it and rehearse it. Now, if you can learn just to understand your skills and abilities are going to be in direct proportion to the income that you earn. Learners are earners. I really hope that this video helped you. Apply it because it's worked for me for 16 years. If I didn't have visual aids, it would make my job a lot harder out there. So be great.